And joining me now is visiting fellow at the US Studies Centre and Sky News contributor Bruce Wolpe. Bruce, good morning to you. Yes, we just heard from Donald Trump. What are people saying? Are they afraid that war is going to break out?
People are afraid that war is going to break out. This is an earthquake event. It can transform what's happening in the Middle East. There's no doubt Qasem Soleimani, who was killed, was a terrible actor. There's the blood of hundreds of Americans and thousands of people on his hands. And the question is, what are the consequences of doing this? The Pentagon announced a couple hours ago that 3,500 more American troops are going into the region to secure and harden American facilities. Americans in Baghdad are being told to leave out of fear for their security. Iran controls disciplined proxy forces under direction of this general from Iran to Iraq to Syria to Lebanon. And so the ability of Iran to orchestrate attacks on U.S. forces and Western forces, soft targets. We've seen it over the past several months, attacks in the Gulf, attack on the American embassy. So people are afraid that there's going to be revenge exacted by Iran, and it could lead to a series of incalculable steps of fighting between the various forces. So immensely unstable situation, a terrible war criminal brought to justice, but with consequences throughout the region and the world.
Well, they just lost one of their most senior figures. Bruce, why were the top members of Congress not informed? They must be very angry.
They are angry about it, but they're not trusted by this president. He's under impeachment by the Democrats. And the president likes to act unilaterally, authoritatively, in secret, and just project his force. So the Democrats are quite upset about it. There will be briefings next week on Capitol Hill, but it just adds to the mood of partisan rancor and division in Washington.
What are the nearby areas doing? Are they obviously ramping up their military aid?
Yes, and I mean, all soft targets from commercial shipping to embassies and other facilities are wary about what's going to happen. Israelis are worried because you have Hezbollah in Lebanon under the control of Iran, and rockets could be raining down from Lebanon on Israel. Saudi Arabia, of course, watching the situation very carefully. So tensions are very high. No one knows what's going to happen, but everyone is certain something is going to happen. Also, next week, Iran was going to announce further steps in its nuclear program. This will accelerate that. And so you could have a complete breakout of Iran's nuclear program. And on the other side of the world, you have North Korea-U.S. tensions and North Korea pursuing its nuclear agenda. So on the two most important foreign policy challenges that Trump has faced, North Korea and Iran, they're both moving in the wrong direction right now.
Just frightening times.
It is a very difficult time.
Very difficult times. Of course, the bushfire crisis here is making worldwide news. It's top story in the UK and the US.
And in the US,
everywhere in Canada.
It's front page on the Washington Post and New York Times. There are op-ed columns about the bushfires. And Australia is really ground zero of the climate change crisis and discussion in the world.
Yeah, well, looking at some stats here, 2018 California wildfires, which were considered the most deadliest and most destructive, recorded in California. They covered 750,000 hectares. New South Wales alone this bushfire season has covered almost 4 million. So it's just extraordinary, and that's just New South Wales.
It is, and also it's larger than the fires in the Amazon earlier this year. So it's amazing the amount of coverage in the United States on it. People are obviously concerned about the welfare of the country, but they're also seeing it as a real symptom of what climate change, the havoc that climate change can wreak on the world. So this will continue to get a lot. Also in the political campaign, Bernie Sanders has tweeted about this. Climate change will be a major driving force in the U.S. presidential election. So we're going to hear more on that front too.
Bernie Sanders had a health check as well, and he's been given the all clear from his heart attack by 2 heart specialists and his doctor as well, so that's good to hear.
It is, but he's also raising money, and all the Democrats are. Iowa, I know we're far away from Iowa, but it's it is a month away from today. And the Democrats have reported fundraising figures. They've all raised the major candidates have all raised over $20 million. Sanders raised over $30 million. The total Democratic fundraising is higher than the total Trump fundraising.
Wow.
So even though it's split among several candidates, it shows the passion that Democratic supporters have to get challengers to Trump. So we have the table set for a huge fight in Iowa, and that will begin to finally narrow the field to see whether a front runner nominee can emerge.
And finally, the impeachment. Bruce, why has Nancy Pelosi not sent the articles of impeachment to the Senate as yet?
She wants to see a more open Senate trial, but this is really getting the Senate Republican leader angry. He says, we are the Senate, and you can't tell us how to run our trial. You did your job, and in fact, I think you did a terrible job. It's political, and people can see right through it, and it's a weak case, and don't tell us how to do our job. But what it means is there's an impasse on starting the trial. So people had thought that the trial could start next week. There's no agreement between Republicans and Democrats as to how to do that, and that means that this will be in limbo, Trump under impeachment, but no resolution for some time to come.
Yeah, well, it's a very busy start and a frightening start to 2020.
It is.
Bruce, as always, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you, Janie, and all best for your coverage of the fires.
Thank you so much.